Hey scholars, it's Mrs. Gregerson. Today should be fairly short notes. Hopefully for some of you who are like in college algebra and stuff, this will be a quick review. But one thing that you probably have noticed with conics is that we always have to seem to change things into standard form, and we haven't just left them by themselves. So like you will get equations that, look something like 3x squared minus 5y squared plus 13y minus 4x equals 25. And we sit there and we have to take the time to use completing the square. But when you look at the equation just like this, people struggle. Like, you need to be able to look at that and tell me, without changing it to standard form, if that is a hyperbola, an ellipse, a circle, or a parabola. So we have to be able to identify that. Now, I'm going to tell you some things. I'm going to give you a very short summary of the things you would look for if you have what I call the general form of a conic equation, okay? At most, you're going to have two squared terms, okay? You have to look very carefully at a value's coefficient. So the values in front of the x squareds are going to be really important. You have to know if you have two square terms or just one square term, those type of things to make it really helpful. So when I look at this, I'm going to tell you right now that this is a hyperbola. Okay, and so let's just write a summary of what things are here. So in order to be a hyperbola, and let me change my marker here. I can't even spell hyperbola all of a sudden. This is great. Notice the key characteristics of what you see up ahead. First of all, you need to know that both the x and y, let's put it this way. There is an x squared and a y squared term. All right, so there is both, okay? They have to have both. And here's the other thing. One of the terms, the x squared or the y squared terms, must be negative. So here's what I mean. If you look up above, the reason why I know that's a hyperbola is because I have an x squared and a y squared, all right? But here's the cool part with that. This is negative, so therefore I know it's going to be a hyperbola. All right, so let's look at our other ones that we worked with. Circles. What do we need to know? We have both an x squared and y squared term. Okay, so we have both of our variables have to have a squared term. And here's the other cool thing about that. They both must have the same coefficient for the squared term. That doesn't even make sense how that looks. Efficient. And the same sign. Okay, let me give you just a quick example of this. It'd be something like 3x squared minus 3y squared equals 9. Something like that. They, excuse me, not minus, it should be plus. 3x squared plus 3y squared equals 9. They both have a squared term. They both have the same coefficient. So that's the key thing. So there's both squared terms, both have the same coefficient, and they both are the same sign. So now if they're both negative, that's okay, or they're both positive, that's okay, but they have to have the same coefficient sign. All right, let's look at the next one. We have our ellipse. Okay, for an ellipse, it feels kind of like a combination of a couple of them. There is both an x squared and y squared term. Here's the key with them. Both squared terms are going to be positive. And here's what's the only thing that's different with this one. They have different positive coefficients. So let me give you just a really silly example of this. Would be something like here. You have 4x squared plus 5y squared minus 10y is equal to 2. Something in that manner would be an ellipse because they're both terms are there. They're both positive. They're different from one another. We knew that would be an ellipse. All right, well, what's the one that we haven't done yet? Well, that's a parabola. And parabolas are the easiest ones to pick out. Because here's one thing. There's only one squared term. Okay, so only one squared term. So the cool thing about being only one squared term, it's really easy to see. Like you could have something like this, a 3x minus y squared plus 2y plus 10 is equal to 15. And I know that's a parabola because the y is squared, the x is not. So, and it doesn't matter if they're positive or negatives or anything like that when we have with parabolas, which is really cool. But you only have one squared term. You're going to have either x squared or y squared, but not both. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. And let me tell you what your test on conics is going to be. Okay, you will have a test next week, but it's not going to be over graphing rational expressions or anything like that. It's just going to be over conics. And it's going to be about the length of a quiz. So it does matter if you do well on this. But the cool thing is you can use your notes and my videos or whatever you can do to help with on it. But here's what you're going to do at the beginning of this. You're going to literally look at what I call a general form of a conic, okay, equation, and then tell me what it is. So I'm going to look at the key elements here. So remember, first thing we have to look for, the types of squared terms. Notice I have a squared term in x squared, and I have a squared term in y squared. So that means we know right away it's not a parabola. Then I look at the following. Notice that one's negative, this one's positive. Well, that tells me right away that is a hyperbola. All right, now let's look at the next one, okay? So on the next one, I need to look at squared terms. So, okay, so here I have a squared term, an x squared term, and I have another squared term. Notice what's so special about these. These are both positive, but they have different coefficients. Notice this one has a 3 and this has a coefficient understood to be a 1. Since they're different coefficients and they're both positive, we know that this is going to be an ellipse. All right, let's look at the next one. So on the next one, let's see if I got another one. Yeah. On the next one, I look for the squared terms again, and I have 2. So either hyperbola, parabola, or circle. Hyperbola, circle, or ellipse. Excuse me, no parabolas. I don't know why I said parabola. Anyway, notice there's 2 of them, but what's so special about their coefficients? They're both the same, and they both have the same sign. So if they're both negative, this works. If they're both positive, this works. So you have the same sign. So this, my friend, is going to be a circle. Now let's look at the next one. Okay, this is x plus y squared plus 5y equals 29. Notice there is only one squared term. If there's only one squared term, what do we automatically know? Well, we automatically know it's going to be a parabola. Does not want to write for me right now. All right, now let's go to the next one. Okay, let's go look at the next one. We're going to go here. We look for squared terms, and notice we have 2 here this time. Oh, did not get my highlighter here. Notice we both have an x squared and a y squared. Look at their coefficients. Are those coefficients the same with the same sign? Yes, they're both -2s. Right away, what that tells me is that you have a circle. Remember, circle, same coefficients. Both have to be the exact same sign. All right, let's look at our next one that we have. Number 6. Again, how many squared terms do we have? Well, we have 2. We have a y squared and we have a negative 4x squared. So we have 2. So again, that rules out a parabola, but it does have us with the other ones. So I look carefully at the coefficients. Right away, they're different coefficients. One's positive, one's negative. Well, that lets me know I have a hyperbola. All right, awesome. Let's keep on cranking these out, my friends. Let's look at the next one. So I look for the number of squared terms. Now, I'm going to give you a hint for your test next week. Are you guys ready? This is your hint. If you have multiple terms of the same thing, so let's say I had something like a 4x squared and a 5x squared, you are going to have to realize those combine to one term. So hopefully that will help you when you think about that. All right, let's look at the next, okay? Notice there is only one term, and if there is only one term, what type of conic are we making? It is going to be, yep, a parabola. Awesome. Okay, let's look at our next one. Okay, how many squared terms do we have? We have one that is an x squared, one that is a y squared. So again, that lets me know it's either hyperbola, ellipse, or circle. I look at specifically its coefficients now. They are the same sign, but they are different from one another. Well, that lets me know that I have an ellipse. All right. 2 left here. Guys, how many squared terms do we have on number 9? 1, and only one variable is squared, so therefore we know this is a parabola. All right, and then last but not least, let's look at this last one here. On it, we have the fact that we have 2 squared terms. But what's so big about this one? They have different signs. So right away, what shape do we have, my friends? That's right, an hyperbola. Okay, so I'm going to pause this video for just a moment, just so I can pull up your homework. Basically, I would say do your homework. Think of it due by 8 a.m. Friday, and that way you have a free Easter break. Otherwise, you're going to be on Easter doing math homework, which doesn't make any sense to me. But let me pause this and unpause. Your homework assignment is 8 problems. 8. No more than that, no less than this. This is phenomenal practice for your stuff next week. So let me share with you the directions for this. It's 4 parts, but really I was trying to, so I don't have to write it every single time. But let me kind of give you an example of what you're doing. First of all, here's the directions. First of all, you have to identify the conic, okay? I want to know if it's a circle, ellipse, parabola, or hyperbola just by looking at it. So let's look at here at number 1. Looking at what we just did in our notes, I have an x squared and a y squared. They both have the same coefficient. All right, they both have the same coefficient, so I know that this is a circle. So the first thing you have to do is tell me that it is a circle, okay? Then do like what you've been doing already. Change it to standard form, and then pull out the key information. And then I went and explained what are the key informations for each one. For circles, you're going to do the center and the radius. For parabolas, vertex, focus, directrix. For ellipses, center, vertices, and foci. Hyperbolas, you're just going to tell me the center and vertices. And then last but not least, what we've always been doing, sketching the graph. So really, the only thing different is you have to identify which one it is, and then find the key informations for that type of conic. Okay, so hopefully that kind of gets you going on this. But guys, I pray that you don't take more than an hour on this homework and these notes together. But no, please, you can call me. I'll look forward to our Zoom meeting. I think we're just going to do our Zoom meeting regularly on Wednesday afternoons. We're going to do a group, and then on Thursdays, I'm going to do like my geometry students as a group. And then Tuesdays, I'll probably give you another hour, which anyone from any of my classes to come in for help. So thank you, my friends. Have a great Easter, praying that you rejoice in the fact that Jesus Christ is our living hope, and that because he conquered death, we have hope eternal. Know that you are loved.